4, 3, 2. Welcome to Linux for the Rest of Us, episode number 38. The show where we talk about Linux, and no matter who you are or what you know, if you're interested in Linux, I think you'll like this show. And I hate when to hear how good that rhymed. Totally didn't mean to do that, and I hate that happened because it just sounds so cheesy that happened. I might even have to edit that out.
No, you're not.
Door knows me. You heard the voice of Steve McLaughlin, the door-to-door geek, the man who brings the goods, the Linux goods and Linux goodness to the show. What's up, Door?
Hey, guys. Nothing much. Just busy week. Way too busy week, and I'm happy I'm finally getting some downtime.
Cool. I'm happy for you, too. Also, as a special treat, joining us, Jonathan Nadeau from frostbitesystems.com. I love having Jonathan on. What's up, John?
Hey, good evening, gentlemen. Thank you for having me on tonight. Appreciate it.
Absolutely. And Frostbite Systems, if you guys don't know, is a cool site. You got to check it out. It's Jonathan's site where he sells machines with Linux installed on them, rather than, I think, what a lot of people do, and they shouldn't now that they know about your site, is go buy a Windows machine, take Windows off, and put Linux on.
Right.
Yeah.
Windows never sees the day of late on these machines.
Exactly. And it's like very friendly hardware. If you want to install another distribution, it's very friendly hardware. You don't have issues with it. And I gotta say, the one thing that really tweaks me about it being so good is Jonathan takes a portion of each sale and gives it to whatever distribution that you got on the computer.
Oh, that is just the coolest.
Yeah, definitely. It's a way to give back.
You're a good man. All right, well, Door prepared some notes. Why don't you get us rolling, Door, and Jonathan, just chime in whenever you feel appropriate, and I will do so as well.
Sounds good.
Cool.
Yeah. Well, firstly, I had Jonathan on because he's cool. And because he's smart.
Don't give him too much credit.
Well, no. And because he's smart. And I got to say, if you have not listened to any of his Frostcast episodes, you really need to check them out. He also has This Week in Debian, This Week in Fedora as well. The guests are not what makes the show good. It's how Jonathan talks to them and asks them the right questions, in my eyes.
So hang on, Door.
Thanks, dude.
Door, let me just ask Jonathan. How many podcasts are you doing right now?
Currently 3.
See? And they've been going for a while, right?
It's creeping up on a year, actually, yeah.
That is that's commendable. See, I know exactly what Jonathan does to get these done and produced, and, you know, if you persist like that, I instantly gained my respect. So
yeah, thanks, man. I appreciate it.
Good job on the shows.
Well, but here's the thing.
Likewise you, Steve.
Thanks.
That's only a fraction of it. In less than a week, Jonathan's Northeast Linux Fest is going to have its first inaugural event. And I really wanted to make sure that we gave this one last shout out before it actually happened. And I really want to encourage people, if you're anywhere by Boston, you really need to get in your car, kiss the wife, pat the kid on the head, and go for a day and have fun. Can you tell us about it, Jonathan?
Yeah, sure. It's April 2nd, which is this Saturday. So, Steve, there's a little pressure on you to get it out before Monday or Tuesday.
Wow. How difficult.
But, yeah, it's this Saturday, and it'll start at 10:30 a.m. It'll go until 3 p.m. It's not like some of the other Linux fests you might read where it's like these 3-day extravaganzas, but it's the first one. I wanted to try and make sure it was something I could handle getting off the ground. And it's at Worcester State University in Worcester, Massachusetts. The website is northeastlinuxfest.org, and we got 4 speakers. It's been a little hectic the last week. Red Hat is the sponsor, the sole sponsor of this Linux Fest, and I didn't get the sponsorship money until like last week, and so it's been a scramble to get everything done. And I just talked to one of the speakers today. Now I think I have to rearrange my whole schedule for the speakers, and I already got like these not business cards, but postcard things kind of printed out with the schedule already on it. So now those are like useless and thrown out the door. So, you got to roll with the punches and, just hope for the best. So it's still going to be good. And We're gonna have an after party at Jillian's after 3 o'clock. So it'll probably start at 4. Hang out there, eat, drink, and talk some more Linux while we're there. And yeah, it's just gonna be a great time. I got Linux Pro magazine and Linux, not Linux format. Gosh, they're gonna kill me if they hear I messed up. Linux Journal sent us a bunch of free magazines.
I'll edit that out too.
Yeah. So yeah, they got a bunch of free magazines. We got some T-shirts if anyone wants to buy one, and yeah, so it's gonna be a great time. So I'm really looking forward to it.
Man, good luck with that. It sounds like an awesome. I wish I could go, man. If you do have one down in the southern regions, let me know next time. But this is a great thing to start. I'm excited for you on this.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to it. I learned a lot from doing this, so hopefully if this goes well, I do plan on doing one next year, and
cool.
I'll probably take a month or 2 off and kind of get back into it and do it, make it better and whatnot next year around. So
very good, cool.
Yeah. And the one thing I'm confident about is if an ounce of Jonathan's passion comes through this event, it's going to be a great event. And honestly, the speakers he is having alone is enough to make me really regret not taking that trip, I will say. And the after party is just good times.
Yeah, definitely.
I just gotta say, Jonathan, I really tried hard to go. I'll just cop out and say it wasn't in the cards, but I will say if I was going to show up, I was going to show up dressed as Toll Booth Willie.
Nice. That would have been awesome.
That was the goal.
No, I know Toll Booth Willie from Adam Sandler skits. What does he have to do with Linux?
You'd have to hear the promo, Steve, that I made for the Linux Fest. If you go and download like the latest either Frostcast episode or This Week in Debian,
yeah.
The promo is right at the beginning. What I did, just to tell you really quick, is I cut a bunch of the Toll Booth Willie parts out, and I inserted me having a conversation with Toll Booth Willie. So
I'll
get it downloaded and we'll play it before the show ends.
Oh man, that'd be awesome.
No problem.
Yeah, that's just good time. And now, in all seriousness, I really am hoping to get some other people in my area to at least think about doing a fest, because I'm not going to lie, I want really bad to start the Maryland International Linux Fest, which of course the abbreviation is MILF.
That's so awesome. I was going to say Doorfest, but MILF is pretty good too.
Hi, Billy.
Hi, Billy.
What are you doing, Billy?
I'm just wearing your liking kiss.
Oh, thank you, Billy. And you had a star day today, right?
Yeah, but I never got to eat cookies.
Oh, no cookies.
No cookies? Man.
Why don't you ask Mommy really nice and say, Mom, I bet you, I promise you, Mom, I promise you, if you give me a couple cookies, I'll have a star day tomorrow.
Okay.
Okay? High five. Love you, buddy.
Good suggestion, Dor. Now, what if by chance he can't deliver on that promise? Does that make what does that do to him now?
Well, he promises he's going to try. Well, here's
okay. Try. Okay. I don't want to put you got to you put too much pressure on him.
Every day I put pressure on that kid.
Oh, man.
Monday he had a sad face day. Today he had a star face day. If he has 3 more star face days, I told him, then over the weekend we're going to go to the drive-in and see a couple movies.
Oh, cool.
Cool. There you go.
Good.
I'm not above bribing my kid. And neither should you. Anybody out there, bribe them. Do whatever you got to do. But yeah, I'm serious. I would really love to be able to at least help start some kind of thing. I honestly don't know if I have the time, patience, intelligence, organizational skills, all that to do a fest of my own, but I would really like to try to get some people at least talking about it around here.
Go for it.
Yeah, and I think if I start and just post it and just say we're going to talk about it and just say free beer, I think I have plenty of people show up.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
They'll come to see you, Dor.
Right. And I just want to remind everybody, support the local Linux Fest. It's honestly what makes Linux great. It embodies everything about Linux. It's just people gathered around talking junk about computers, sharing things they've learned, and having a good time.
Sounds pretty awesome.
Yeah.
I will go to one soon. I doubt.
Yeah, there used to be one in Florida, but I think they actually stopped a year or two ago.
Yeah, that happens to me. Wherever I go, the festivals stop.
Yeah, see, you leave, I start one up here, and you move down there, they stop it. So
That's what happens. They have no control over that.
Yeah. I really want to talk about this first thing because I forgot about it. 2 weeks ago, I was so proud of myself because I learned how to do teasers. And then the following week, I forgot to fulfill the promise of the teaser. So I'm fulfilling it this week. And there is a application out there that people should install if, for instance, you have a Fios connection to the internet and you still feel like it's taking you too long to download your updates or your applications from the package manager or the software center, and it's called app-fast, apt-fast. And what this basically does is this takes it takes control over how your connections are made to your repositories, and it does like what Down Them All does for Firefox, and you can actually see it in the command prompt if you type sudo-app-fast install pigeon or whatever after you install this package, of course, and you'll see like 5 connections being made and they'll all be active at the same time. So essentially you can see up to 5 times faster downloads or better.
Let me see this. I'm just pulling it up now. Sorry. Apt-fast. It's at debian-tutorials.com.
Yep.
Faster than apt-get.
Yeah, I mean, it basically takes apt-get and it adds an extra layer on top of it where it like controls the connections out to the downloads.
Neat. That's pretty damn cool.
Yeah, and this is the kind of thing I don't really understand why these kind of tools aren't built in to at least Debian. I know in SUSE, there is a package you can install. Again, it's like White Pill or something. Arch has it too. A couple other ones have it, but it seems like they all have it as being a option, and they don't have it as like the default.
Huh.
Yeah, I don't think this is like a supported kind of thing with apt, so that's why they don't make it out of the box you have that option. I think that's why someone else just kind of came along and said, hey, here's this tool, you can bolt it onto apt and you get this performance out of it. But I think Debian as a whole hasn't like adopted it to make an official like thing for apt. So
right. And the thing with Debian is, Jonathan will attest to this, to get into Debian you have to like prove yourself. You have to run the gauntlet of being stable and showing that you're going to support this thing.
That's great.
Oh, yeah.
I'm glad they hold it to a high standard.
Yeah. Another like really geeky thing you could do is if you had like an extra box lying around, or if you had your own server, you could even have your own completely cached repository on your server in your home. So your server would update everything, and if you wanted to install something on your laptop or your desktop or whatever, you would tie it into your repository in your home network, and you could update and install stuff like crazy fast because it'd be straight from within your network.
You mean, but you'd have to download everything in the repository to your computer?
On like your server or whatever. So what would happen is you could write a cron job or something and tell your server, okay, update every so often and make sure I have all the latest packages in my repository at home. So when you're at home and you're on your laptop or your desktop and you're using Debian, let's say for instance, you could say, oh, I need to install Pigeon. So you do apt-get Pigeon, and when you do that, you're actually installing it from the repository in your server in your house. So it installs like crazy fast.
Well, that's pretty neat.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is like the WSUS for the Windows users, only a lot simpler to understand and to actually do yourself. And I gotta say that this is the way a lot of businesses do it, where they have their own internal repo, and they have all of their Linux servers pointing to that. So it's very easy to maintain curate and update your packages.
Let me ask you guys this, because I am the noob of the bunch, and I ran a cron job the other day on my site because I run Drupal for Podnutz. But what is that? I don't even know what it is, but I know I had to run it. What is a cron job? Is it just a task like you run, like just an executable?
Well, it's basically the cron system is kind of like the Windows task scheduler on immense steroids and human growth hormones. It is like so customizable and configurable. It's absolutely insane. You can not only say run this now, you can say run it on the 15th second of the third Tuesday of every third month.
I see.
You know what I mean? You
Okay.
can get such insane control over the scheduling. And the best part is it's almost easy to understand. All you got to understand is there's 6 places where you can put in a number, and it's like second, hour, day, month, week, year, something like that.
Gotcha.
And it's really the best part about it in my eyes is that you can easily read a line once you understand it and you know exactly what's going on.
Huh.
And the cron is always ran as admin. So if there's tasks you want to run as the super user and you want it automated, the way to do it is through cron.
I see.
Yeah, you could really automate a lot of stuff, Steve, for your pod. Like if you, with like just the audio feeds, like say when you're done, you could tell cron, okay, the minute I'm done recording, I want you to take this file, rip the audio out, make an MP3 and OGG file, and then upload it. You could tell it to just do all that on its own. You wouldn't even have to touch anything.
Damn.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
that's
this could-
you could automate a ton of stuff with your podcast with using cron.
Okay.
Yeah.
I got to figure out how to do that.
Like for an example, Dan from the Linux Link Tech Show, the minute they get done recording, they don't do any sort of editing. They just do a live show. They record it, and when they're done, the live show, boom, the recording ends. He's got a cron job where they're done recording the show. It takes the file and makes an MP3, an OGG, and a Speaks feed, and he tells it to upload it, and it knows all the RSS feeds, and then boom, it just does it automatically.
Really?
Yeah.
So there's no editing there.
No. Yeah. He literally is done recording, and then boom, the thing just takes
That's
over.
badass.
Well, then yes, but also here's the thing. Cla2 from Good New World Order was talking about having a system in place where it does that automatic generation of the file, transcoding of the file, uploading to the server, modifying the RSS feed. But he was saying how you could also do the same editing every time, to where when the file gets recorded, as soon as you hit stop through the command line, it will put the
music?
intro and outro on and fade it in and fade it out, and then do all the conversions and then do the uploads and the addition. I mean, this is the like best example to podcasters of how the command line is the most powerful force in the universe.
The lazy man's guide to podcasting.
Totally.
Yeah, and like best example for you, I would say start small. Like cron the addition of the video feed into the Podnutz Lounge.
Right.
And all it would have to be is just at this time, like you have page 1 and page, rename pages like the real live one. Or rename page to page 2 and then page 1 to page. And then at a set time, do that rename back, then you never have to do it again.
Very cool.
Simplify your life.
I'm into it.
Right. And then the only problem becomes if you have to change servers and you forget to copy that cron file.
Oh, I will.
You got a little work at it.
Well, then you'll have the cron and rsync backup, and then you won't have to worry about it.
There you go. Yeah, and there's a good tool for newbies. I believe it's called GNOME dash scheduler. It's a simpler interface for people to at least perform basic tasks. The best thing about that is you can output the results to a text file, so you can see what commands it's running and how it's formatting the cron job. So as you're doing it, you can learn what the formatting is.
Cool. Sounds pretty neat.
Yeah, it's definitely cool. The next two links I want to talk about, actually, I got them from Jonathan because I'm kind of, what's the word I'm looking for? Not lazy. I kind of put off building up my show notes because I used, the Droid, the RSS feeds, the Everpaper, and the Instapaper to basically cache stuff, and then 5 hours before the show, I create the notes. And he was a little bit afraid I was going to be short on content, so he sent me two links. One of them I heard of him before, one of them I haven't. The first
Let
one
me just stop you for a sec. Jonathan Dorr will never be short on content. I've learned this.
Yeah. Well, the first email he sent me is like, so far I have this, and it was one thing, and I was like, oh, well, I got a couple things off the top of my head. I'll just shoot him an email.
Oh, you know what? Actually, Dorr may be, but I've never. He might be putting it all together at the last minute every show, but I don't know that. Go ahead, Dorr.
To a degree, yes or no. I mean, it's like I tell my wife, I say, no, it's all up here. Well,
Right.
yeah, but it needs to be out here. Nah, I got it right here. Don't worry about it. That's my way of making sure I'm needed. The first one is
Super Gamer. Is that what this is called?
Yeah, Super Gamer.
Yeah.
And I gotta say, I think I heard about this on Distro Watch podcast, but I'm not positive. The only, I want to say, negative is on this site, no matter where I looked, I could not find just a simple game list.
What is it?
This is a live DVD. Now, here's the gimmick. It's a 7.8 gigabyte DVD, which means you have to have a dual layer DVD burner and dual layer DVDs.
Most of them are anyway.
Yeah.
Well, and if you don't, just go get a 16 gig thumb drive. You can get them out of cereal boxes now, or go to Best Buy and pay $5. Because they're everywhere now, it seems like.
Supergamer.org.
Yeah.
Yep.
And I was able to find a games list at a Linux journal. So I was very happy about that. Now, some of the games, some of these Windows people might not be prepared to hear, because they've heard of them before and they think, oh, there's just weird penguin racer games and that's it. But like on this live distribution, you can boot to it and you can play Quake Wars, Doom 3, Prey, Unreal Tournament 4, Savage 2, Postal 2, Enemy Territory, Sauerbraten, which is the game I mentioned a couple weeks ago, Urban Terror, Soldier of Fortune, on and on and on and on. There's literally like 50 games.
Is this legit?
Yeah.
So they licensed all these games to be on this disc?
I'm sure.
Yeah. Okay. I believe you.
If it isn't like they're selling it. Wait a minute, they are. It's cool.
It's cool. It's cool. It's cool, Your Honor.
Right. And,
yeah, that'll fly.
And if you're using it for your own use and not for personal gain, I'm sure there's really nothing they can do about it.
Okay.
I didn't double check the website. Are you sure that like those PC games are included, or are they just saying like you can run these under Wine that's in the thing? I didn't double check that. I should have, but because I know the other one that we're going to talk about strictly has Linux games. I didn't double check this one. So are you sure that's not just like a compatibility thing where it's saying like, yeah, we've tried it out. You can play these games under Wine, like, Postal and Soldier of Fortune and stuff. I'm not sure.
You know what, Jonathan, we just lost Dorr, and I definitely don't know the answer to that question.
Okay.
Unless the cyber police intercepted the call and there's no more Dorr.
Yeah, it's not so cool now, is it?
Let me get him back. No, Dorr's funny. He will premise these for. He'll say like it's for educational purposes or something like that.
Yeah, exactly.
Damn, we might have lost him actually. Let me see. He might have had a.
Feds shut him down.
He might have had a pretty bad system crash. I'm getting red
The
bars.
person whom you're trying to reach is currently unavailable.
I'm getting red bars from him. Let me just pause the recording here. Damn, now I gotta edit.
There goes your cron job.
Seriously. No, I was up doing something on my site. Every time I touch my site, which runs Drupal, I mess
Yeah.
something up. I'm so clueless, man. I learned just enough about Drupal to put the site up, and then you run Drupal for your for Frostcast, right?
Yeah, Frostbite Media. Yeah, I run Drupal, and for the Northeast Linux Fest, I run Drupal
Yeah.
on that too.
Now, I always get these pink pop-up windows saying I need to update this and update that, and honestly, I'm always afraid to.
It's annoying because, like, say if you have a module installed, like XYZ module, right, and you're using it, it's annoying in Drupal 6 to update it because what you have to do is you have to, you click on the thing because when it says, oh, you have an update, you have to click on the thing, you have to download the module, the new module, then you have to upload it into your modules folder,
Right.
unzip it, then you have to remove the old one, and then you have to run the cron job to update it. It's wicked annoying.
7 doesn't do that?
7 just you click on stuff and bing bang boom and update it.
Are you serious?
Yeah. 7 seems much more, user friendly in that sense. I haven't used it yet, but I've heard that's one of the things that makes it way easier. And installing modules is a lot easier now too. Like, all you have to do is if you find a module on Drupal, you put the URL of the module in this box and then just downloads it right into your module folder.
Oh, and unzips it and everything?
Yeah.
Oh man.
Yeah.
Are you gonna upgrade your sites to 7?
Yeah, sooner or later. I'll probably upgrade the Northeast Linux Fest once it's over, and see how that goes.
Cool. All right, here's Dora again.
I have no idea what happened. My router reset itself.
That's okay.
I think it might be the RIAA or the game industry.
That's what we were talking about. No, I'm just happy you're back, so don't worry about it. Let me get you full screen here. And we could wrap up talking about Super Gamer and go to the next one if you want, Dor.
Okay.
Ready in 4, 3, 2, go.
Yeah. I'll just say the desktop background for it is ultra cool. That should be legal.
That dragon thing?
That dragon thing, that's cool. Dragons and lasers. You can't go wrong. I'll honestly look into the legality of what I said and if I am accurate or not. And of course, I'll report next week because
Don't worry
I can't
about
do two things at once.
Don't worry about it. We forgot about it. Wait, Jonathan, are you still there? We lost Jonathan now.
No way.
Hang on.
That was weird.
Jonathan, you there?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Hang on a sec. Because you put Dora on hold now.
Oh, okay.
It's weird. Let me call you right back, Jonathan.
Okay.
Dora, you there?
Yeah, man.
You got put on hold. Hang on.
I know you scared the poop out of me. I thought it was me.
I don't know how I did that. Did you call me on Podnutz or Podnutz 2?
I don't know.
You called me on Podnutz 2.
I did call you on Podnutz 2.
You goof.
How did I call you on Podnutz 2? I don't even have you in my Podnutz 2 thing. You called me on Podnutz 2.
I didn't. It rang.
Okay, maybe I did.
I'll call. Hey, sometimes Skype likes to just do whatever the hell it wants. Let me call you back on Podnutz regular.
Okay.
All right, bye.
All right.
Okay. See, Dora called me back on Podnuts too. That's why that got messed
Oh,
up.
I see. Okay, because I was like, wait a minute. All I heard was like bleep, and I was like, oh, I think I just lost Steve.
Sorry. All right, let me let's get him. Where the hell is he now? Come on, Dora. All this editing I have to do. Jeez. Okay, here he is.
Hey, man.
Hey.
Okay.
I thought the feds came and got you for telling everyone to use illegal copies of video games.
They were trying to, but I told them to go see my son. He'll take care of them.
Oh, so Jonathan, you didn't hear anything after Dora came back?
No.
Oh man, what a mess.
Yeah, like I said, once I heard like a bleep bleep, and then I didn't hear anything.
Skype automatically put you on hold when that happened. No, we already we were giving Dora hell about the Super Gamer, and then
Okay.
All right. Go ahead, Dor.
Okay. And the second link, I know I've seen, but I don't think I talked about. It's live linux-gamers.net. To be honest, this is one of the more cool game-related things I think I've came across in the Linux world. It's very easy to download, install, and run. The interface, to be honest, is very user-friendly, which I gotta say, some of the gaming distros I've seen, they expect you to have more knowledge than a noob, let's say. This one's very easy, and honestly, it has a lot of games on here that people might not have heard of, but I can tell you they are fun.
Yeah, this is so it's like got a bunch of docks all around the edges of the screen. We just launch the games from there.
Yep. Click and go, bang, go.
Nice.
And it does have like a game on here called Armageddon Advance, which people might not be familiar with, but it's like the old game Tron. Okay. And I gotta say, one of the best things about this disc is it's a live, upon the name, there's a people around it. So when you download it, install it, and run, there are people on it like all the time, on the online games that they have. And they have one game on here that this has to be one of the most old yet popular and busy games I've ever seen in my life. It's called Xmoto. And if you go to xmoto.tuxfamily.org, this game has been ported to everything I can imagine, period. It's on my Nokia N810. It's on Windows. It's on Linux. It's on BSD. It's on my Android device.
This cheesy game?
This game, yeah, I know the graphics are not good. I'll say this game is complicated and requires touch.
Ah, okay. So it's a game of skill. What is it? Good animation?
The animation's smooth. It isn't high def, but it's a very playable game. Once you get the gist of what you have to do, which isn't hard, you basically have to start at the starting point, make it to the ending point. Along the way, you pick up coins. But there are like parts of the stage you have to wall walk with the bike. You have to like hold a wheelie for so long so you can keep your head down on this one part. And there are a lot of fine touches you can do to actually make the bike do different things, where as soon as you jump, if you yank back just a touch, you'll actually go like 10% further. And if as soon as you're getting ready to jump, you press forward on the bike, you'll actually stay lower. So if there's obstacles above your head, like that.
I actually like games like this with the motorcycle physics, But with his coins, this is like Sonic the Hedgehog on a motorcycle.
Yeah, kind of. And I can tell you on the Android device, I believe it's called Moto X. I believe it's
gotcha.
They reversed the name. And I gotta say, on the Android, it uses the sensors actually pretty good. It's called Moto Extreme on the Android, but it's the kind of game on the Android. I know on a couple of the computer versions, it takes you through a training session where it's like 6 or 7 stages teaching you the basics of how to do tricks to get things. Again, graphics are not good, but you get into it, man, it is competitive.
Really? Very cool.
Yeah, because all of the high scores get uploaded and you try to beat somebody else's high score.
Oh, neat.
Yeah, I mean, what's cool about this, though, is I think what's cool is, people say, oh, there's no gaming on Linux. You can just be like, oh, really? You can drop this DVD in someone's computer, like, here, check this out. There's all these first-person shooters and stuff. And for it's for people that go by that negative stigma, like, oh, you can't game on Linux.
Right.
You can show them this, because if people are going nuts, wanting to play, like, Angry Birds or Cut the Rope and stuff like that on their phone, these Linux games are like way better than that stuff. So if people are willing to play Angry Birds and Cut the Rope and some of the other ones, Plants vs. Zombies and stuff like that, I mean, these Linux games are like far superior compared to those.
That's a good point. That's a good point. Yeah, I'm with you on that.
And the other game I'm just going to throw out there is Urban Terror. If you like first-person shooters thing. The tagline of the site, which is urbanterror.info, it is fun over realism. This is not a simulator trying to be accurate when you shoot somebody to have them react correctly. This is about fun, but graphically speaking, this is right up there. This is really sharp, really good. And of course, online play, which if a first-person shooter doesn't have it, it better be pretty good.
You're right. Cool.
Yeah.
We always get a dose of games in. I like that, actually.
Yeah, yeah, definitely.
Right now we're going from that extreme to a completely different extreme. A lot of people out there use WordPress for their blogging or just for their site in general because it's a very easy to get going CMS, content management system for your website. This is another example of the power of the command line. On freesoftware.zona-m.net. Man, I wish I could have found a better link for that. They tell you how to post to your WordPress blog via the command line.
Oh, cool.
What this really, honestly, I think the best part about this is if it's in the command line, that means you can literally do whatever you want with it, like via a cron task, like we just said. You could do that, or like with the @ which is just a quick way to insert into a cron task, that @ command we did a couple weeks ago. So from any powered device, let's say, even the Zipit, the little handheld computer, you could basically have that device type up a article when you're on a cramped bus, do the @ command for like 2 hours from that time, and then when you get home, you can have that entire blog post automatically uploaded and put on your WordPress site without having to power on your desktop, logging into the internet, logging into your website, creating, custom, create post and do all this extra stuff. You can just do it from the command line.
Very cool.
Yeah, and to me, the best thing about this is anything on the command line means versatility is now endless.
And speed, too.
Yeah. Yeah, and for instance, if your computer decides to stop working to some degree, you could even boot to a minimal Linux and just from the command line do this.
Huh.
Here's a blog posting, my computer is dead.
As long as you have an internet connection, though, right?
Oh, yeah. Well, it ain't going to be magic. Yet.
Yet.
Not yet. Yeah. And I just thought that was cool. And I'm going to keep throwing around command line stuff when I think it's apropos. I think there's almost too many tips to throw out at one point in time, because it is so good.
Totally.
And now this, I just wanted to mention because I had no place else to mention it. So I'm going to mention it here.
Okay.
If you go to thinkquarterly.co.uk, it has nothing to do with Linux. Nothing whatsoever.
Okay.
This
Next.
is actually a Google website. And this website is basically a online magazine. And I honestly thought the way they at least did the main page was innovative, where if you go to the main page, click on the very top image, and it turns into a interactive, I believe flash session where you can turn the pages of the book with the top arrow. They definitely put a lot of emphasis on design and how artistic it is. A couple of the people I told actually gave me pretty good feedback on the quality of the content as well, that it was really kind of smart. There's one in there called a data state of mind, where the guy basically explains data how to handle large amount of data and understand like living data kind of thing. I'll just say this seems to be really geared for smart people, and so
good. I like seeing things for smart people come out.
well,
You know, I'm not even saying that I'm smart. I'm like, if it's above my ken of knowledge, then that's even better. But
Right.
there's just too much dumb stuff out.
Right.
Cater
Well,
to
yeah.
the dumb.
Yeah,
this
the,
is
the
like the
content is pretty interesting. Like Dora was saying, like it seems like they're offering not all, but a large majority of the data that they gather from like advertising and you know, for companies and stuff. So it seemed pretty interesting. From what I could tell, it seems like you have to kind of like pay for it though to get like that information from them.
Yeah.
But it seemed interesting though.
Wow, this is really cool.
Yeah. I'll say I did this not as a public service announcement, but let's say to uphold the Buffalo theory. I hope that I will draw smarter people to communicate with me, which thus will then make me smarter. Because this is above my head.
I know this looks pretty complicated.
Yeah.
Neat,
But it was
though.
cool,
That's
and I just
neat,
wanted to
though.
put it out there. And, you know, if there are people out there who are really deep into data, SEO, all the things that really make the world go them round, I think you need to check this out.
Good find, man. I like it.
Yeah. The next thing I wanted to talk about, I wanted to first give a little preview to Crossover Office. Crossover Office, Crossover Games. They have a couple products. This is basically Wine, but it has more support, and it's by the same people. This is their enhanced version with a little bit more capabilities, a little bit easier to do things, and it's a pay-for product. Basically, everything that gets learned from this Crossover Office and Crossover Games eventually does always go into Wine. So if you do pay for this product, and this is a paid product, you are making Wine better.
I see.
And Wine is the abstraction layer that makes it possible to run Windows binaries and applications in the Linux world and have, to be honest, surprisingly good results. In the last year and a half, these guys have made such huge strides in my eyes. There's a large amount of applications that just seem like, well, they just work perfectly fine. This is actually called Crossover Games.
Okay.
And the way they describe it is this is a commercial implementation of the Windows emulator Wine, which Wine stands for Wine is not an emulator, has been updated to a version 10.1, bringing support for new Rift MMORPG. I've never heard of it. Apparently it's popular. And it's the kind of thing where games like WoW, Civilization, Eve, Left 4 Dead will run. In some cases, I can tell you from what people have told me, in some cases better than in Windows. And it's because there's less stuff running. You know, you don't have the Windows print spooler, the Windows firewall, all these services starting up on their own. So there's less stuff running, so you can see better results. In the past, I know just using Wine to get like WoW running was hit and miss for people.
Really?
Sometimes they were successful, sometimes they weren't. Sometimes when they were successful, it wasn't great. Sometimes when they were successful, it was great. So if they would just pay the $40 to this project, they would see much better results. I will say that. And you can get the Pro version, which is the Crossover Office and Crossover Games. And I think it's one more product available. That's $70. If you just get the Crossover Games, it is $40, and there is a free trial. And this is basically for the people that really don't want to deal with dual booting and VMing and all this other stuff where you have to maintain two computer systems, update and patch this, update and patch that, a new version of Flash here, a new version of Flash there. I mean, there's a lot less maintenance.
Cool.
If you just do this.
Awesome.
Yeah, and this is the kind of thing where really dedicated gamers who want to try to cross over need to know about this, or they will have a frustrating experience with the games that they are, looking forward to until they learn, all of the other games that are available.
Yeah, you only have to have a couple, maybe just one bad time trying to convert over before you're like just don't want to do it anymore. So it's good to get this right on the first try. This is really cool.
Yeah, and it's like those guys out there that love their WoW, you can't change their mind.
Right.
You can't. Nothing you can say, do, show them, pay them, give them wine, women, and song. They still want their wine. Or WoW. Yeah. It's nicotine, guys. Okay.
How are you doing with that, Dor?
I'm doing good. I'm honestly doing better than I thought, but I had like 5 days where my back just felt like somebody just took a baseball bat and just
for 5 days.
Like 5 days. Anytime I moved, I was like, because my muscles would just go.
Because of lack of nicotine.
I don't know. It might be all in the mind, like George Harrison said. It's all in the mind,
Well, I don't know, man. You've seen like people going through withdrawals. It's physical, but you're still nicotine free.
Oh yeah. But I'll tell you right now.
Yes.
Road rage has a whole new meaning. Today there was a 5-car pileup on the main interstate, 95. So I couldn't take that to work.
Right.
So I take 695 to go around the Beltway.
Mm-hmm.
I'm in a lane, and I look over. I always do head checks. I'm a good driver, defensive driver. Turn signal, make a head check. I see a minivan going 20 miles an hour over the speed limit, 2 lanes over.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. They're behind me by 200 feet.
Mm-hmm.
I look forward again. I make another head check. He's about 150 feet behind me. So he's coming up on me.
Mm-hmm.
Plenty of time, though. I get over one lane because he's 2 lanes over. I get over one lane, and like 3 seconds later, he is next to me coming into my lane. And he basically tries to like jump in front of me and overtake me. You don't do that to a guy that just quit smoking. Hit the gas. My driver's side mirror hit his passenger, the mirror. And I just kept going. I just thought, you don't do this to me now.
And did they try again?
No, then they jumped up, rode on the shoulder for a quarter mile, and cut off a tow truck.
Damn.
Yeah. People are dumb.
Well, I'm glad you're safe, man.
Oh, I'm fine. Trust me, I've been through a lot worse.
Okay.
And I'll say I have had officially over 220 hours of official, not court sanctioned either, training of how to operate motor vehicle and motorcycles. I'm very confident in my ability to get razor close and scare the crap out of somebody and be perfectly safe.
Telling you. You know what? That's one of my pet peeves is people think, in general, people think their cars are like 90 feet wide when they drive. They take wide sweeping turns when they're just not even close to anything.
Dude,
people think their cars, I think in general, I think people think their cars are much wider than they actually are.
Dude, 2 things really drive me up the wall. That, and when people are in a middle lane or whatever, turning left, and they start to cock their car, and they're not straight, and they're cocked now, and they stop.
Oh, yes.
I'm like, are you dumb? You do understand if you're hit in the back, you're going to be forced into oncoming traffic, whether you like it or not. People just can't drive.
Telling you.
And I keep thinking maybe if I go to New Zealand, maybe they'll be better. But I don't have a job in New Zealand.
That's a good solution, Dor. Yeah. Go to New Zealand. That's my solution to everything.
Yep. Okay, now that tangent, that rat hole was completely drowned. The next distro I wanted to talk about, I've heard about only now and then. I've never given a fair shake, I will say. But when I go to the website, everything about this distribution looks as good as gold, flexible, well documented, has a pretty good wiki, has flexible versions to download. I mean, I don't know anything bad about this, and it's called Zenwalk, ZENWALK.
.org.
.org. And I will say they got a friggin' dolphin in their logo, but I can put up with that. They have 5 e, e editions that you can download. Standard edition, core edition, live edition, GNOME edition, and open box edition.
What do they tout in this distro? What's good about it?
Well, the first thing is it's based off of Slackware. So that's the most important thing to know, I think, about ZenWalk. I actually interviewed these guys on Frostcast, like episode 9 or 10. I don't remember the exact episode number, but yeah, they based it off Slackware, but they made it a little more easier to install and have it, like a lot of stuff already configured out of the box. So the standard edition has the XFCE desktop, and the core edition is essentially that. It's a core edition, and then you can basically install whatever you want, however you want, on top of the core edition. And yeah, it's really well put together. And if you ever want to try Slackware, but you think you're afraid of trying Slackware, this would definitely be the one to try.
It looks pretty solid.
Yeah, well, that's with Slackware. I can say, from everything I hear about it, I've never ran it. It's one of those things with the normal Slackware. Once you get it built how you like it, it's really solid. The hard part is getting it built.
Is Slackware just a distro?
Yeah.
Yeah, Slackware is like saying Debian or Red Hat or Puppy. It's like a base to go off of.
Yeah, Slackware is the oldest Linux distribution.
Really?
There you go.
Yeah.
What are some of the popular distros based off of Slackware?
Well, there's this ZenWalk. There's another one called Salix. There's another one called Porteous. There's quite a few.
Huh.
I can't think of all of them, but there's got to be at least 10 to 20 probably based off of Slackware.
Do you like Slackware, Jonathan?
Oh yeah.
Cool.
Jonathan, like him, some Slackware. I know that.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
And what I gotta say about this site that I really like is they have a manual, they have a wiki, and they have a companion, it's called. It seems like it's very, very well documented. They really are trying to make sure that everyone is informed who wants to be. I ain't gonna lie, I'm gonna give this an install and I'm gonna give this a whirl just so I can use it once. And I can say I ran it.
Yeah, I noticed they have the 7.0 out. I'm curious to see exactly what it's based off of, because Slackware is due out to have a new release shortly, and it's not out yet. And they just released 7.0, so I'm not exactly sure what they're basing it off of. Slackware kind of has two versions. They have their latest one right now is 13.1 that's officially released, but they also have a thing called Slackware Current, where you can download whatever the latest and greatest is that they're working on right now. So I don't know if I doubt ZenWalk built off of 13.1, because I believe the last release they did. So I'm kind of assuming they're building off Current, but I'm not sure.
That looks pretty cool.
Honestly, I'm not sure, and I can say they definitely don't make it easy to find out what it's based off of. Because I ain't gonna lie, I looked for a good 20 minutes today, and I couldn't find out. So once again, Jonathan comes to the rescue. Now, if I go to the wiki and the fact, it does say it's based off of Slackware, but it says no specifics.
Okay.
Interesting.
Yeah. And I mean, it's one of those things. This is one of the more customizable bases of Linux. There's a lot of flexibility that comes with using Slackware. And I'll say it's one of those things, brand new users, it's good to use ZenWalk before you use Slackware.
I get what you mean. Kind of like your Linux Mint Ubuntu comparison.
I'll go for that,
Okay.
yes. Yeah, so that's cool. I'm going to give it a go, I ain't going to lie, just so I can use it, play with it for a little while. The next thing I wanted to mention, I honestly stumbled across 2 weeks ago, but I kind of misplaced it in my Instapaper feed. If you want to learn the basis of graphics and graphic editing, you really should, if you're really new, you really should learn with GIMP for one big reason. You will save yourself hundreds of thousands of dollars and avoid going to jail. See, I can help people get out of jail too, Steve. Because I want to say something like 85% of the users in the world that use Photoshop use it illegally. There's no reason to use Photoshop, really. Sure, somebody might have a reason, but you really should use what you can afford and the GIMP. And there's so much the GIMP can do. There's almost no reason not to use it. I mean, it really is one of the most flexible, powerful, bitmap-based graphics editors, period, bar none. And what I like about the GIMP is it's so easy to learn how to do an effect or a schema, how to make something custom of your own, because there are tutorials abound.
Really?
Everywhere. Just put in Google GIMP T, and I'm 99% sure the first autocomplete is going to be tutorial. And as long as you can think of what to call it, you can find somebody telling you step by step how to do it. Now, what I found was this page at unixmen.com, and it's 30 great tutorials for the GIMP. And I gotta say, I only had time to look at 2 or 3 of them. I like their pace that they go through on showing people how to get to their goal. You know what I mean?
Yeah, this is really neat. Now, they didn't make these tutorials. They're just doing references to different tutorials, or they actually created by them?
I don't think they created them. I think they just linked to them all.
Gotcha. They're neat, though. I like the one where they take, dude, what's the guy who played Legolas in Lord of the Rings? What's that guy's name? Orlando something?
Bloom.
Yeah, they took his face and put another dude's face on there. That's pretty neat.
Yeah.
Another good tutorial site is if you check out Heathen X Screencast. I don't know the exact website, but if you Google it, I'm sure it'll be the first one. Him and another guy do tons of tutorials with GIMP and Inkscape, which is like Adobe Illustrator.
Yes.
They do tons of tutorials on there.
Heathen X?
Yeah, Heathen X Screencasters.
Gotcha.
Yeah,
or Heathen X Screencast, one of the two.
Yeah,
awesome. I'm gonna check it out now.
It is screencasters.heathenx.org. And I will say, I do know I've came across this site, but it's like Yo Linux was for me before. Now that I look at the format and everything, I've been to this site many times before. I just didn't realize it.
Ooh, yeah, I've been here too when I was checking out Inkscape. I learned a lot about Inkscape from this. Good call. Good call.
Yeah, they do a lot of good stuff. So.
Yeah, and to be honest, that's the one I would like to be more proficient at, is Inkscape, just because I think there's more benefit to scalable graphics.
Yeah, vectors are fun.
Yeah, they're just more flexible.
Yeah,
literally.
They always look better because you can blow them up.
Exactly. Okay, the next site I wanted to throw there, I'm kind of shocked no one's ever told me about, and I've never stumbled across before. And I will say, this is an example of my reading, writing, vocabulary skill. I thought the name of the site was Polish Linux. And my wife said, "Excuse me?" I said, "Yeah, it must be a Polish site. It's Polish Linux." She said, "No, doofus, it's Polish."
That is too funny, Dor.
But actually, Dor, there is on that website, I believe they do mention PLD, which is Polish Linux distribution.
Serious?
So, yeah.
That's great. Yeah, I gotta say, the best thing about this site might not be obvious to somebody just stumbling across the site. I gotta throw that out there real quick. I've only scratched the surface, and I found 2 really, really cool things. On the very top, if you click on Why Linux, they're basically telling you reasons to justify why you should run Linux. If you're going to run Linux, you're going to run Linux. These are not going to change your mind, but these are good for people who already run it to be told again of why it is better and why they are using it. Because after you use it for so long, you almost forget that Windows exists, and you don't remember the kind of constraint you had on the other operating system.
I gotcha.
The second tab is called Choose OS. And before I know, we went through a quiz we found on a website, Stephen.
Yeah.
It wasn't really complete. It was very good for a brand new user, but like one of the questions was, is your hardware new? No. You couldn't say, well, it's 7, 8 years old. You just had new or no. This has a distro chooser, and this distro chooser, while it is not as deep, I think it's definitely good enough for most people to answer, like, where do they need to start at when they're using Linux. I honestly like some of these questions a little bit better than that other quiz that we came across. Now, there's only 10 questions. Very easy to just bang right through. The second thing, though, that I found that honestly I freaking loved, a lot of people, just like you asked me earlier, Steve, well, how's this different? You know, when we were talking about ZenWalk, you know, what makes this different kind of thing. If you go to the Choose OS thing, there's a compare distro link there as well, where you can literally from a pick down drop down list pick 2 versions of Linux and basically compare them head to head.
Yeah, I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah. And yes, ZenWalk is in the list. So
and Slackware.
And Slackware.
And there's even some BSDs in there too, which I thought was kind of they had a good selection. They had like OpenSUSE, Fedora, Ubuntu. They had a really good like mix. So they really kind of covered the gamut of, you know, different distros, which I thought was pretty cool.
Oh, really neat. They got random screenshots, different architectures, installers. Very cool. Check it out.
Yeah, and I'll say Reg Exorcist will be happy because it talks about BSD.
Yep.
So I made Reg happy.
And dude, tell your wife that it actually is Polish Linux, because I scrolled down to the designer of the site, designed by Paweł Szezerski, Polish name.
Yeah, that's definitely Polish.
Went to his site, and he says, I am Paweł Szezerski, and I live in Warsaw, Poland.
Well, there you go.
I know, but Steve, I gotta pick my battles.
Okay, you won that one. You could live with that win. You could live with that win.
Well,
or you could be just, you know, you could coincidentally be listening to this podcast at some point in time and make sure this part gets turned up.
No. Because 3 seconds in, she'll say, turn that crap off. and now, because I was already once tonight already, you know, correct, because she was watching a movie with Queen Latifah about some basketball player. And they showed the basketball player, and I said, that's Common. She said, what? Like I was insulting him. I said, no, that's his name. His name's Common. I said, watch these credits, and they'll say Common or something Common, something like his nick, you know what I mean? Because that's his name. You don't know what the hell you're talking about. You're dumb. You know, 20 minutes later, I'm in the kitchen, and I hear the music start in the movie. So I go out there, and I put my elbows on the back of the couch. I just sit there and watch the TV with her. Hey, look, the guy's name's Common.
Did that get you in trouble?
No. She said, you're right.
Not yet.
I said, really? Can you say it again? She shut the hell up. Can't push it. No, you got to, you know,
pick your battles.
Yeah. And I'll say again, I love the fact on this site that they really do, in my eyes, a very fair comparison. I went through like 20 comparisons, and there's no favoritism going on. They just state facts for almost the whole point. Like the architecture, minimum hardware, the software freedom status.
Yeah.
The more you get into Linux, the more important that statement will mean to you as a user. Freedom means that you don't have to worry about this software. There's no worries that one day it's just going to die or stuff's going to change and you don't like the fact that it changed. And freedom, what it really means is carefree to the advanced user, because they know it is nothing to worry about. It's all open source.
Right.
And to be honest, I only went through like 30% of this site. I am going to go through it some more. And if I find some more cool stuff, I'm going to mention it again next week.
Yeah, one last thing that I noticed that was cool is it's also editable. So they're like, hey, if there's something on here you think needs to be corrected, go ahead.
Really?
So I was like, oh, yeah.
It's
editable?
editable?
That's what it seemed like. If I'm remembering the right site of all the links that Dor gave me, I'm pretty sure that you can edit that site.
So we could put like a Polish flag up at the top, and they would let that happen.
Well,
No,
I mean, like the information. It's like a wiki,
Right.
so like you
right.
could, you know.
I'm just being a wise ass.
I think
we could
that
put
was
an American flag on it.
yeah, I think that was the ZenWalk site. Like every link you went to
Oh, okay,
was
all right.
a wiki where it had the ability to log in, create the username.
Neat.
But I'll say this site, it's one of those things I can't tell if it's even kept up. For all I know, this is all 3-year-old data,
Right.
but I just found it and it's cool. Yeah, and if you just want a good amount of generalized information about distribution specifically, this to me seems like a great hub to go to. And I'll say again, if you want to learn about a lot of the basis about distros, you need to check out Distro Watch podcast. Bada bing.
Gotcha.
Okay, we're rolling down now. This I had to mention only because I still have not heard anything being hammered down in the forums or in the IRC, because I'm not the one who I shouldn't be making this choice. I'll just say that. There is a project out there called Flare, and it's at clintbellinger.net/RPG.
Okay.
This is a open source game generator, which is rogue-like. It looks a lot like Diablo-esque, where it's the three-quarters top-down view on the environment. We've had more than a couple game engines mentioned on more than a couple shows. Anyone with any amount of spare time on your hands, you don't even have to have the ability to go in and edit these games and create these games or think about the basic framework of how it's going to work. All you need to do is pick one and call yourself the maintainer and go into the forums or go into the IRC and stake your flag in the ground and say, this is the one we're going to use for the game. And I guarantee you in less than 2 weeks, you will have 20 people basically hopping on board, jumping in the front of the line to do what they can to make this a possibility. And I'm talking about the Podnutz Land game.
Yeah, Jonathan, if you don't know, we're trying to promote making a Podnutz game. And,
Yeah, I heard you guys talking about that.
Yeah, we keep talking about it just to see what happens, and this is like a little nudge, I guess, from Dora to get it done.
Well,
yeah, I looked this over. It looks like, you know, it's someone that's motivated could definitely get something done with this. It looks pretty cool. Like, I wish I could, you know, do something with this, but yeah, the right person could totally get something running in probably, I would say a week. Like, this looks really cool.
Yeah, there was more than a couple mentioned. I want to say it was on Podnutz, the regular Podnutz. The guy mentioned a game where you could actually do it from within the game. You could be playing the game and editing the game at the same time.
That's pretty wild.
Which makes it dynamic. I would only ask, we try to keep this as cross-platform as possible. We don't want to make Chris Barr upset that he can't play it on his MacBook Pro. Chris Berry.
Why not?
I did it again.
I thought you were doing it on purpose now.
No, it was
Just
never
call
on
him Bar, just needle at him.
And we want to make sure this will run on Linux, Slackware, everything else. We do not want to purposely just cut off a whole group of the community and say, well, you can't play the game.
Right. Right.
Anyone?
I like how you put Slackware in its own category. You said Linux, Slackware.
Well, I didn't say BSD because I didn't say anything about BSD.
That's why I like to have Jonathan on, Dory. Keeps you in check.
You need to have Waylon run on BSC to run this game.
Oh Lord, you're opening up a can of worms there, son. A can of worms.
There you go, Reg. That one was for you.
Love you, Reg. The next, we're going to change topics now. This is one of those things. It costs money, but if you're a really book person, I've read more than a couple independent reviews, and they said this was very key in quick learning of the Linux operating system. Now, Linux is Unix-esque. What you can type in Unix, if you go over to Linux, it's virtually all applicable. Because for years when you went to college and if you wanted to learn Linux, there was no Linux courses. You went and took Unix courses, thusly like 98% of everything you learned just transferred right over.
Gotcha.
Now, of course, times are different, but there is this book called Teach Yourself Unix in 24 Hours, 3rd edition by Dave Taylor. I'll say this, nobody's going to learn Unix in a 24-hour time span today till tomorrow, okay? Unless you are really hopped up on a lot of 5-hour energy and nicotine patches.
Well, I mean, it says 24 proven 1-hour lessons.
Right. And there is a sample.
It's not 24 hours straight.
Right, well, I just want to make that clear to the audio listeners.
Okay.
You know, we can see the site easy, but they can't. And there's a sample chapter online, which I got to say, I like the step-by-step and the constant interaction you as a student have with the computer to learn. I'm sure the first chapter is most fluff. You know what I mean? And by the time you get to that last chapter, you're really hardcore crunching out commands. But I really like what looks like to me the pace of learning, and the examples he gives. Most of them people can comprehend. Another rattle. I want to, in podnutz, make a script that will take a command, type the command in the background, take the output from the command, scrape it, organize it, and present it in a user interface to let the people pick from. To do that, you have to know one of a couple commands, sed, awk, or grep-e. I don't know none of those commands. And the hardest thing I find is real world examples of some of these more advanced commands, because these are definitely not your, I don't know, commands. They're definitely more complex commands than just print or cd or list, you know what I mean? And the examples, every example I read is just like, I don't even understand what they're giving me an example of. I type it, something comes out, but what was going in? What? You know, what happened to the old example of this is your CD collection? Now let's group it by artist.
Right.
You know, it is definitely hard to find real world examples that are very easy to consume. And this guy at least has some, in my eyes, easier to understand examples. So if you only learn by reading, this might be the way you can get over that hump.
Good.
I'm not getting any money from it either.
You should.
I know, but it looked cool. I heard good things about it, so I wanted to mention it.
Sure.
I'm not a quote unquote reader, but you know, I'll give it to other people.
Okay.
The last thing I want to talk about real quick, I just want to talk about because I thought it was freaking cool. And these are some quick Linux command line tricks. Now, real quick, the last site was actually called intuitive.com/TYU24. Just search for Teach Yourself Unix in 24 Hours. You'll find it because that's kind of confusing. This one's actually at GHacks. I gotta say, GHacks is one of those sites I really like coming across. I never go to the site. I should actually subscribe to their RSS feed. I never go to their site, but I like when I'm doing something and, ooh, it's a GHacks. Ooh, and I go look. These are simple commands with great real world examples. Monitor changes of a file in real time. The Windows people can't even comprehend what I just said, because if something is being written to, you as an end user have no access ability to even look at it because it's locked. Hate Windows. But with like this command, watch, this is the actual command. Surprise, the command's called watch. With this file, you can actively watch a log file as entries are being added into it. So if you want to nonstop monitor your login log file for any unusual activity, and the split second there's a bad login that happens, you can instantly, you know, parse it and email it or send it as an SMS or a text message or whatever, all via this watch command. Monitoring stuff in real time is something that if you need it really bad for a reason. And I love the fact that how everything is in plain text. All the log files are in very plain text. There's no weird squares and characters you see in Windows where if you open it in a text file. This command will just make it easier for you to watch what's going on as it's happening on your computer. The second one I wish I could use, but I don't have the need for it. It is how to check your Amazon paid ranking via the command line. Again, this is ultra cool. Now, we talked about Conky weeks ago.
Paid rankings?
Yeah, paid rankings. It's basically how much money do you have coming your way if you have like a Amazon book kind of thing. And I think if you have an Amazon affiliate, this might pertain to you as well. Conky is a utility that can display any kind of content on your desktop as like a like the Windows sidebar, only not bloaty and heavy. We on podnutz we have basically animated clock, load, network, swap space graphics. There's no reason why you couldn't insert this into a Conky so you could instantly on the fly get live updates of your Amazon paid ranking because it's all from the command line. The next one is how to get your unread Gmail count from Google. So right there, anyone knows if they're trying to create a GUI for any application or if they want in their Conky to just quickly see how many unread emails they have, there's a command called curl. Curl is basically saying, if you can visualize it, you're curling. You're going out, you're reaching, you're getting data, and you're pulling it back. You're curling it back to you. Curl just gets information, brings it back. And it is a complicated looking command with, if you look in there, you do see a awk, AWK, and a sed.
There's all kinds of crap in there.
There's all kinds of crap in there. Basically copy paste.
Okay.
And of course, put in your email address and password where it says to put it in, and you'll instantly get back your unread email count all from the command line. This one is, to be honest, one that I abuse absurdly, especially as a computer tech who really heavily thrives on remote support. A lot of people say, log me in free is great, but you can't share files, you got to do this and you got to do that and you got to do this to share a file, or you got to pay, $120 a computer a year, some amount they're not getting from Door Geek. All I have to do, because I'm in a Linux-centric world, is drop to a command line and type Python-M space simple HTTP server. And instantaneously, I have an on-the-fly web server running from wherever I was currently at in that terminal. If I'm in my home directory, if you then go to my IP address, :8000, you're in a web browser looking at that directory. You can download any files you want. So if I have files on my computer that need to be sent out to anybody for any reason, somebody asks for a Windows XP Media Center ISO file. Well, I got it on my computer. Well, can I have it? Yeah, okay. Python-M simple HTTP server, bang, open up the ports of my firewall, which if you know how to open up ports of your firewall, it's literally 5 seconds a piece. And they're open. And then I just tell the person, go here. And I just shoot them a link with my IP address, :8000. And I say, download the file. Tell me when you're done. I close the ports of my firewall. That's how I get files also when I'm on a remote job.
Wow.
I have a file. I just type that. I go on the remote user's computer, type in my IP address, :8000, and I can transfer the files right down.
Wow.
As fast as I can upload it from my home computer is as fast as it can be downloaded from there. Log me in ain't going to work any magic and increase my upload speed.
That's
So the
really
benefit-
awesome.
Yeah, and it's so easy. Now, here's a plus to it. You cannot do PHP. You cannot do MySQL. There's a lot of things you can't do with it, which means it's actually safer it's less exploitable because it's not a full-blown web server. You can just offer files and people can download files.
I see.
Yeah, and I'm sure if you put a index.html page there, you can display something, but just here, get some files, get away from me.
Get some files, get away from me.
You know?
Nice.
Yeah,
Awesome.
and it
That's
just
a
works.
great line. One
Oh,
line.
I abuse that command every chance I get. Because honestly, I got, hard drives here, I got hard drives over there. Even on my Pogo plug, I got files where once in a while I want to share out to people.
Right.
If there's an easy way to share them on the Pogo plug, I don't know how. So what I literally do is I map a drive from my computer to my Pogo plug, which I can do just like Dropbox with a folder. And then I just go in the folder and say Python-M. By then, of course, tab completion, boom, done. Enter, good as gold. People are downloading stuff off of my network. Safer than just opening up your whole firewall and making a network share.
Right. Dude, it's awesome. Thanks, Dor.
No problem.
All right. I got 2 emails here. We may have more. I don't know what Dor has, if you which ones you wanted read, but let me just read these real quick. This is from Cody. You did answer this one, Dor. Should I read this? Might as well.
Sure. Yeah.
Hey, Steve, just had a quick question about running Skype in Ubuntu. Is there anything I need to know up front about the settings in order to get it to work? Or are those problems I heard about a thing in the past? I'm planning on purchasing a Logitech Pro 9000, so I shouldn't have any hardware issues on that end. Trying to get set up to be a guest on Podnutz Daily, and I want to have all my ducks in a row before I signed up. I'm a new tech, but I want to give back to the community any way I can because you guys have helped me so much. Thanks, man. Talk to you soon. That's from Cody.
First thing, Cody, don't connect via Wi-Fi. Second thing, Cody, don't let your router reset in the middle of the show. Okay.
Third thing, Cody, make sure it works before the day that you call. Thank you.
I'll say this. On the Skype that is available for Linux, it is literally like 2 years stale old. With that said, it works pretty good. I have very, very, very few issues with it. I have more issues with my router randomly rebooting. And that, honestly, Steve, it has happened to us in like 4 months, 5 months.
That's a fluky thing.
It is, and it happens. Skype is the same way. There's a lot of background black magic going on that nobody understands, which once in a while means it's going to choke on itself and not work.
Right.
But for the most part, Linux and Skype works very smoothly. The only issue I've had, and I think it has to do with the Pulse system that's in most Ubuntu derivatives and a couple other, is it's kind of like the audio is not truly hot swappable, where I have to first plug in my USB headset, then go into the Ubuntu sound settings, pick that as my default input and default output. Then when I launch Skype, it picks up the headphone perfect every time. The webcam, dude, this is the webcam to get, I want to say, for Linux, because literally you plug it in, you wait 3 seconds, and it's done. No pop-up, no beeps, no da-dung.
No crappy Logitech software.
No,
and
nothing.
It's a quality camera too. It's stable. It's solid. It's like this. It's like the staple webcam, isn't it, of the Linux community?
Is that the 9000?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and if you just search for Skype webcam Ubuntu, I believe it is, there's a wiki.ubuntu.com/Skype webcams page where they basically go through a lot of webcams, not every webcam, of course, and they tell you how well it works with Skype. And here's one of my logic things. If you hold the bar high, you're making sure the stuff works on Skype, which means it's going to work on Ubuntu perfectly fine. If it works on Skype, that's a harder goal to reach than just work on the operating system. So if it works on Skype in here, you should have zero or very few issues with it running on Linux. And now I'll say this is very unfair. I did it too when I first started. Everybody says Linux works on older computers, and they feel like they don't have to validate anything, and they just throw Linux at it. And then if it doesn't work, well, Linux sucks. It's supposed to work with everything.
All right.
But yet when you buy a Windows computer, you buy a computer that's been proven and tested to work with Windows. You go to the store and you buy a printer and there's a Windows logo on it. It's going to work. You really should do the same thing when you're looking at Linux. You really should try to make sure what you have works with Linux. Perfect example, go to Frostbite, buy a system. You know it's going to work.
I was just going to say that. Perfect example.
Gotta bring it back. But yeah, the 9000 I've had great success with. I can tell you in a Windows VM, it took me like 10 minutes to get it working. And on Linux, I literally plugged it in. I waited a couple of seconds. I looked around. I said, I don't think anything happened. And then I launched a program called Cheese in Ubuntu. And I saw the ring on the camera light up, and I said, "Oh!" And I leaned in, and I looked, and there's my ugly mug on the laptop. It worked. Nothing. You do nothing, and it just works.
Right.
With Skype, as long as you can, buy a normal camera, you can easily in Skype go options, video, test video. You can see your video. To test the audio, you simply dial Skype test call. And you can test your audio to make sure you sound right.
These are all lessons to be learned before you call for podnutz.
And you'll have to add, I think, the Metabuntu repo, don't you? Because I don't think that's...
I always just tell people go to skype.com/download.
Oh, okay.
Only because it seems like it's less steps than to tell somebody new how to enable
that's true. Yeah.
A repo. But if you're on Mint, it's already enabled. You just go to install it and it works.
Okay.
All right. Should we do the next one, Dor?
Sure.
Okay, it's from Jeff. He says, "Hey, guys, just caught Linux for the rest of us, number 36. Thanks for going over in detail my question with detailed answers. Thanks for going over in detail my email with the detailed questions." That's what he said. I dubbed something in. Anyway, he says, "I never get to listen to the live show, but I really like how Dor will explain something, and I suddenly think of a question. A few minutes later, Steve C. will usually ask that question." Now, thank you, Jeff. He says 2 things. I had asked about finding hardware info. I found the following Lifehacker article on using DMI decode, which Dor mentioned. I have used this more than once now. I'm not sure of the syntax to pipe the output into a text or HTML file. Help, please. And the URL he's talking about, DMI decode, is... it's a lifehacker.com article. You can check it out there.
I think what he could do, I'll throw this out there. I know it works for me. I'm not sure if it's going to work with this or not. But all he'd have to do is type, I think the command door is just DMI code, right? And it tells you everything on the computer.
Mm-hmm.
So all you would do is type DMI code space, and then do a greater than, and then do space, and then just like, you would basically put whatever you want to call the file name. So you can just call it, hardware or something. And what it should do is take all that information and then create a plain text file right in your home folder.
Aha. That sounds easy enough.
Oh, yeah. And this is one of the golden built-in defaults about Linux, and it's standard input, standard output. When you do the greater than sign, you're basically saying take all of the output, which is all standardized output of just text, and redirect it to a text file, or redirects it to a file. Since the output is text, it just outputs text to a text file. Very easily automated, standardized way. You're always, when you get that text file, you know what to expect the basic format and everything to look like, because it's always the same command. And you can do that with virtually any command. One of my best tips is, for instance, if you type in MAN space DMI decode, you're presented with a terminal page up, page down screen where you can read what's going on about the command, and it tells you stuff about it. I have a hard time reading in that screen. So what I do is I do man space DMI decode space greater than help.txt, help.txt, and then I have a text file of that output, because I find it easier to Control F and search through that and read that, and then I can even print it if I want to, or make it a sticky note on my OS so I have for later reading kind of thing. That redirect command will make your life a lot easier.
Awesome. Cool.
And there's two more quick commands he could do if he wants to see like all the other stuff under his like in his computer. He can just type LSPCI and it'll tell him everything like on the PCI bus, like the wireless card, the Ethernet, your sound, your video. It'll tell you all that stuff. And you can also type in LSUSB and that'll give him all the information about his USB ports and stuff too.
Sweet.
Yeah. I didn't realize how much stuff was on the PCI bus until I typed that command for the first time.
Thank you guys, both of you guys, for the answer to his first part of the question. Second thing he said is, I disagree with Door's comments on the Podnutz music. I think that Steve C finds very appropriate and upbeat music for each show. Psychologically, I settled down and, quote, listen and learn mode. I settled down into listen and learn mode when I hear the Linux for the Rest of Us or the Podnutz Pro music. That's Jeff, who's Black Hammer. Jeff, a.k.a. Black Hammer.
I like the music too.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody but Door.
I'm sorry.
That's fun. I'm just kidding.
I'll buy another hat. Come on, give me a break.
That's awesome.
I'm just saying, when I'm getting ready to listen to Dave Yates, I literally get jacked.
I have to listen to the beginning. I never heard that intro music. Dude, I wasn't offended last week.
I would say this: Dave Yates to me is one of the most fun people to listen to because he's like Russ, the techie geek. He just talks about whatever he's interested in the last week, kind of thing. It's just fun.
Yeah, that's cool. Well, we might have some new music. Let's see what happens. We gotta look to see what happens in the future.
You never know.
Never know.
I mean, we're not going to get Michael Jackson to write us a song, but something could happen.
Something could very well happen.
We'll get Dora to use the guitar, GNU Guitar NX, and record us some tracks.
That would not be listen and learn music.
Right. And I just think,
stop
Steve,
and run.
That would be cover your ears kind of. And I was going to say, Steve, Jonathan was the guy that told me about that distribution. And I'm in awe of how powerful that distribution is. It's such a pubescent age, let's say. That to me is just going to be so cool when it gets big time.
Yeah, I got to start to learn how to use Jack. We talked about this a little bit at the beginning of the show. Jack, when you actually start getting real audio interfaces, you can't use this. What was the other one called?
Pulse Audio.
Pulse Audio. You have to use Jack to interface with all the high end interfaces. Is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I see, but for me to get into it and plug a guitar into it, I got to use like some type of interface. So I would probably have to figure out Jack. And I messed with it a little bit, and it seems like it definitely would do the job, but I just haven't sat down and put enough time into it. Hey, that's all the emails I have, Dor. You sent me one before the show. Is that something you wanted read, or?
I think.
Okay. Let me see if I can find. Oh, the Linux for the Rest of Us question. Yeah.
Yeah.
This is from Jeff. He says, okay, let me read this question. I got it here. Jeff says, I was trying to install Ubuntu Studio on my netbook. It had an error installing, so I thought I would go to a terminal and type in the command it was looking for. I opened up a terminal and it was on the home folder for the system. Number one, how do I find what is the USB drive, or if I had a DVD-ROM, what is it listed as? I knew that the hard drive was SDA1, but SDB and SDB1 did not work. Why don't we handle that part of the question first?
Well, I'll say there's no one answer. There's a whole lot of ways you can find this information out. Like Jonathan just said, LSUSB. If you know it's a USB-based connection you're making through a like thumb drive, it will give you some information. There's another command called DMSG, DEMSG. That will tell you like the recent activity on the hardware layer. So you could literally plug up a monitor, a keyboard, a mouse, a thumb drive, and you can see how it was handled by the underlying operating system. The command that I suggested for him was fdisk-l, which will give him a very easy to read interface of his hard disk list, like how many hard disks are there, thumb drives included, and what are the partitions and what are the names. In the device directory, everything possible has a file of association with it. This actually goes back to the standard input output thing. Typically, a SCSI device, which most thumb drives are actually are making their connection to, and SATA hard drives, they're called like SDA1, SDB1, SDC1, and that's how it's identified by the underlying system. But knowing what that is really only half the battle. If you're in a command line only system, then you have to mount that system. So there's the command of making a directory and then mounting it. Now, the tricky part is there are different mount commands for different file systems. So I sent him 3 examples of how to mount a FAT32 system, how to mount an NTFS system, and how to mount a CD. I'm expecting him to be using FAT32 thumb drive, so that was the one I gave first. It's almost astonishing how much Ubuntu-based distributions allow you to not know what's going on in the background. When you plug up a thumb drive in an Ubuntu-based system, like in Windows, you just sit there and all of a sudden, boom, a window pops up and there's your files from your thumb drive. There's actually a set of complex commands ran that detected the thumb drive, knows what device it's at, creates a directory, and then mounts it.
Okay.
So to do it on the command line is like 3 steps, essentially at the minimum 3 steps of fdisk-l. Then you need to create a directory and mount and do the mount command.
Gotcha.
And I would say you might need to know a little more info about, he said, something just stopped working and it didn't install. You might need to know, like, well, what was the last thing that was going on before it happened or whatever to give you a better idea.
Yeah.
Okay.
And the Debian, doesn't that have the net install, Jonathan?
Yes.
Yeah, that's the one I would suggest, only because you're always assured of getting the most up-to-date everything.
Yeah.
Because the actual net install, I want to say, is only like 12 megs.
No, I think it's 120 or something like that.
120.
But still,
Right. Yeah, so like everything that's getting installed is actually being downloaded from the internet on the fly.
Ubuntu has a net install too. If you search for it, that's like 10 megs. You could install Ubuntu Studio from that net install. You can go through the, partition your hard drive and all that stuff. I mean, you'll have to, you don't have to install too much. You just have to install Xorg, which installs a bunch of stuff. And then I think if you install, I think it's called like Ubuntu-Studio-Desktop or Ubuntu Studio-Desktop, then you'll essentially be installing Ubuntu Studio from the net install. And, that might go a little bit better than trying to do it off USB or whatever.
Yeah, I'll say I guarantee you will have better results, because I can tell you when I installed Ubuntu Studio, it actually had less driver support than Ubuntu. And my logic is they had to take out some driver support to make more room for more of the Studio applications.
Well, plus they also compile their own kernel because they have to make a real-time kernel. So they're compiling their own kernel also.
Sure.
Yep.
Our second part of his question was, when you are in a shell, say on the home directory, what is the command to change drives, like going from C to D in Windows? My Google searches did not find an answer.
Because that's a trick question. You basically can't change drives because there is no such thing as drives in Linux.
Right.
Everything stems from the root or the slash. We're in Windows, it's C semicolon backslash, D semicolon backslash, yada, 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 yada. In Linux, everything begins with backslash. Backslash. So it's backslash.
A CD drive might be like /dev/media/CD-ROM, or it could be /dev/CD-ROM. It could be under a number of things.
Yeah. And that's when doing those previous commands of fdisk will tell you where it's at, then you do the mount. So to get to that thumb drive, and the example I gave him would be something like /media/temp drive, because he created the folder temp drive, did the mount space dev/SDB1 space media/temp drive. You have to tell it where to land on. In Windows, there is a dirty trick. There is a way to do this to where you can actually go into like documents and settings, my username, my desktop, and I can have a folder on that desktop where it actually links to the C drive of another computer. And even in the address bar, it's a seamless continuation. There's a way to do it, but it's not used at all heavily. You got to remember, drive letters are a thing of the past. They're a very archaic way of handling drives. Because you're only limited to 26 drives. And, the proof in the pudding kind of thing is Windows themselves planned for all intents and purposes to kill that file system with Vista and release the new WinFS, which, surprise, is more like Unix.
and don't forget, like what Dor mentioned, you have to have that drive mounted or you're not even going to be able to CD to it. It has to be mounted. So if you're having problems getting to it, it's because it's not mounted.
Cool. Yep. Awesome, guys. I see Jerry in the chat room said he emailed a question what happened to it. Jerry, I looked. I cannot find it. Do me a favor, email it to me again, and we'll play it on the next show. And let's end off here. Dor, what would you like to say? Last comments, or where would people find you? What would you like to say before we end off here?
Well, I just had one more email that I just forwarded you to look a couple minutes ago that I forgot. It's from Clifford Casey, and it said OMG Ubuntu co.uk brain, and he basically is asking me if this is the new Podbuntu mug. I don't think he wants me to make a Podbuntu mug because you won't, it wouldn't be smooth. I can't mold clay.
You mean the Ubuntu mug?
Yeah,
that one there.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it would have to be green, wouldn't it?
It should be green, absolutely. But his subject line said Podbuntu mug? Question mark.
Yeah. Like I told Dora, guys, my merchandising department has been faltering lately, which is me, which hasn't been doing anything. And I've been getting more and more requests for T-shirts, stickers, all kinds of stuff that you guys would like, and I would like to provide that too. So I did some searching today. And then I got sidetracked on something else, so I didn't do it. But I'm going to have like a site like either Cafe Press or Zazzle or probably a site like that up and running soon with all kinds of graphics, all kinds for each of the shows. You could buy different T-shirts. The problem is with those sites, and this is why I didn't do it before, is they are expensive because they're print on demand. That's the only way I could swing it right now because I'm not going to buy 1,000 Podnutz Pro shirts that say we love Mary on the back. You're going to have to listen to Podnutz Pro to know what that means. So, but I would like to have shirts like that. So we'll probably get a Cafe Press site or Zazzle or something like that up and running. It might be expensive, but let's check what the quality is and just play it by ear from there. And then, if sales go good for a certain area, maybe we'll get them in bulk and try to lower the price. But I am hearing you guys, so we'll see if we can figure that out. All right, Dor. Did you answer that question? Oh, no. You brought up that last email. Anything else that we forgot to bring up?
If you're up in the Boston area, go to the Northeast Linux Fest. If you need a computer, go to Frostbite Systems. And if you need a good time, go to Frostbite Media.
If you need a good time.
I couldn't think what else to say.
Did you read that in like a bathroom stall or something?
Yeah.
No, but obviously my mind is in the gutter.
That's my new campaign trail. Everyone in all bathrooms everywhere for a good time. Go to frostbitemedia.org.
I'm sorry,
Jonathan. That's what you should get on your T-shirts. Oh, that's hilarious. Jonathan, hey, thanks very much, man. It's always a pleasure to have you on.
Oh, dude, thanks for having me on. I'd love to come on anytime.
Totally. Now, give us one last plug here. What would you like to say to the folks before we end off?
I don't know. I just thanks for having me on, and like Dor graciously plugged my stuff. Keep visiting Podnutz. I'm a huge fan of the whole network. I'm subscribed to all the shows, and Steve's doing a great job. And support Steve, support what he's doing. I think it's fantastic. And anyone wants to email me, you can get me at jnato@member.fsf.org. Again, it's JNato. Well, actually, I have to tell you how to spell my last name. It's NADEAU. So jnato@member.fsf.org. You can get a hold of me. And like I said, I'm on Identica as Frostbite. And you have all the websites that you can catch me at. I link to like everything from every website, so you'll be able to find everything that we're doing.
Totally. Sounds awesome. Hey, best of luck with the Linux Fest. It sounds like it's going to be fun. Let us know
Yeah,
how
I
that
can't wait.
goes. I can't wait
Yeah,
to hear.
absolutely.
Yeah, and keep podcasting, man. Sounds like it's going great for you.
Yeah, definitely.
Awesome. So everybody who is watching, listening, streaming the show, even if you downloaded it and are just listening to it now in your car or wherever you listen to it, I want to thank you guys. I hope you enjoyed the show. And that's going to be it for Linux for the rest of us today. We'll see you next time.